Hi, this is Jim Mack with RV Enthusiasts, and welcome to the first episode of the Dump Station podcast. One of the social media posts I've seen a lot recently, mostly from Texas campers, is how do I fill my freshwater tank when my hose is frozen or the tap is frozen? My system needs pressure to fill the tank, so I can't just dump a jerry can of water into the tank. What are my choices? Chris, can you help us?
Yeah, hi, Jim. Thanks for bringing this up. And so we're kind of throwing this podcast together a little bit because of this hard freeze down in Texas. Right now, we have winter storm warnings from the Mexico border in Texas to the Canadian border in Maine, which is almost unheard of. And so we're really looking to give some RVers some advice on how to handle these things, when they're in this position. Obviously, when you go down to Texas or you go in the southern states, you're trying to avoid being in those kinds of environments. And so right now, the snowbirds are feeling quite the chill. So let's take a look at that. So obviously, you have an issue there with your vehicle to the person who is writing that in. And when you have your hose frozen, if you have other piping that's frozen, your tanks are frozen, you're kind of out of luck, unfortunately, until you can thaw those out. Whatever you do to warm your vehicle and warm your plumbing, you want to do in a safe fashion. And this is really important. I was a full-time RVer for 10 years, while I've also been in the industry in upstate New York. And so the coldest I ever got with a rig that I had modified was 24 below, and I didn't have any freeze ups in that cold snap. So I was pretty fortunate in that case, and I had it set pretty well. So prevention is kind of the big key when you're looking at doing this. So you're going to want to warm things up. Electric space heaters will work okay to try to heat up like a bay in a motorhome or something like that if it's set. And again, all you want to do is get it above freezing. So you don't want to have things get really warm. There is, people talk about putting light bulbs in the compartment, things like that. Probably not the best idea. Thermostat controlled heater works. Backseat heat units work. There's motorhomes that come with those in place, but you want to try to get the heat going inside the RV. Again, a lot of RVs from the old days weren't really designed for cold weather. There were others that had some ability to handle cold weather. And a big piece of that is using the heating system in the RV. So you really want to get the furnace cranking. You want to get the heat up in the RV, open cabinets, things like that. Try to get heat to where the plumbing is. So, another person had written in that they also had a pressurized water system that was difficult for them. Some RVs do actually have a vent that can double as a water fill in a pinch. And this is one of those circumstances. So I'm right here. You see, this is a Montana fifth wheel, and there's a vent in the back. Now, honestly, I don't know how many fifth wheels have a vent like this. A lot of them will just have a vent tube that goes underneath the RV and down through the coroplast underliner. But in this particular case, you can slide the cover up off of the vent, and you can use a water carrying jerry jug or a funnel to try to get water into your holding tank. When you get into really cold situations, the best thing really to do is to work off of your tanks, especially if you have tank heaters. A lot of units say have tank heaters. You can put them on in the aftermarket. These are available. This particular pack of 2 is on Amazon. You can get them from your dealer. You can get them in different places. And these are self-adhesive, and they wire into a 12-volt circuit. on your RV, and there's a lot involved in installing these. So this is not something that's going to really help you in an emergency, but it's something you can think about. If you have an RV that has the tank heaters, of course, you want to make sure that they're on and that you have adequate power. When I do seminars across the country, I've done a number of them about winter RVing, cold weather RVing. It's going to require a lot of power, a lot of electricity, because you're going to be powering fans. You're going to be, in your furnace. You're going to be, if you have tank heaters, you're going to be powering those. So you want to make sure, if you can, that you have electrical hookups, and you also want to make sure that you have plenty of fuel. So whatever heats your RV, if it's most RVs, the furnace is heated by propane. But there are others that are diesel fired or come off the fuel system in the RV, hydronic heating systems, things like that. You want to make sure that you have enough fuel and that you have enough power so that you can keep everything running. Getting back to water, once you, if your water system is thawed, again, try to work with the water tank, the fresh water tank in your RV. And when you fill that, there's a couple of ways that you can do that. If you're in a position where you have source to, you have a water, what they call a water hydrant at your site, which means the valve is down below the ground. Of course, down south right now, most people don't have that. And so the freeze ups are an issue, but if you can hook up to that, you can temporarily use a hose to fill your tank. If you can't, and you have to truck water in from outside, here's a couple of things that worked for me. First of all, this one is from Reliance. This is a fresh water jerry can. And I bought this at Walmart many years ago. It's real simple. It has a spigot on it, which will actually fit in the fresh water fill of most RVs, and it's designed to carry fresh water. So, it's the plastic's not going to leach into the water when you're storing it, especially in warm conditions. But this isn't a bad thing to carry on your RV if you think you might get into a situation like that. Another thing to think about too, as you're going forward, is to keep some water in your tank that has been treated. So you can treat it with a water system, a filtration or a purification system coming into the RV, and then just keep it treated with a little bit. If you don't mind using chlorine, that's fine. There's also Camco makes a water conditioner that you can put in your fresh water in the freshwater tank, and that way you keep it fresh and you have it in the event of an emergency. Or you can fill your tank up if you know that a cold snap or bad weather is on its way. Now, if you're going to be working off a can like that, or another tank, you're going to need some way of transferring the water into your system if you don't have a gravity fill. And so there's a couple of different ways that you can do that. Again, relatively inexpensive and something you can carry with you to do it. So again, right on Amazon, I just went on there. This is a small utility pump or transfer pump. And this has garden hose ends on it. And this is very important. You want to make sure whatever pump you get, you either has garden hose type fittings instead of national standard thread fittings, or you can adapt over to it. All right. So if you want to build a 12-volt pump, an RV pump, to do that, that's fine. You're just going to have to be able to make a hose that's going to basically draft from your source, whether it's that jerry can or another tank or whatever, and then be able to get it into your RV. The same thing. So this is an electric pump like this one is an option. If, like a lot of RVers, you carry a drill motor in your RV for using for leveling jacks, or just as a leveling stabilizers, or as just a tool, then you also have the option of one of these guys, which are dirt cheap. This one is a Flowtech drill motor pump for $5 on Amazon, and your Home Depots and places like that certainly carry these. And this allows you to use your pump as use your drill motor as a pump, and you can draft out of that those small containers and then pump into your RV. So that's another. This is a great thing. It's inexpensive. You can stick it in a little box or whatever, wherever you keep your hose fittings and things like that. And you get into a situation like this, your problem is largely fixed. So you have a water can or two. You have this thing. They also make collapsible tanks that can go in the back of a pickup truck or your SUV or whatever other vehicle you've got. And you can fill those up with 20, 30, 50, 100 gallons, whatever, size you get. And then you can use something like this to pump it over into your RV. So something definitely worth considering. So if you're, I don't usually recommend, if you're going to get into a real hard freeze, I personally don't like leaving the utilities hooked up all the time. But if it's going to be one of those things where, it's above freezing during the day, but gets below freezing at night, then certainly using a heated hose is an option. And so there's a couple of companies out there that are making heated hoses for the RV space. This is a Camco one. Which will protect, down pretty cold. They're saying 40 below here. This is a little 12-foot one. This was one that they gave us for my seminars that I could show how it operated. But basically, the way these guys work is you have an electric heating element that's built into the hose, and they have female fittings on each end of the hose, and then a male union, which I'm going to take off here and I'm going to show you. So this is a little male union here. And what this allows you to do is it makes the hose bidirectional. So where you have your power source is where you're going to have that end of the hose. And then you just use this on the RV end. So these come in various lengths. They're a little pricey for sure, but if you think you're going to get into that situation, this is a good way to go. And again, understand this is a drinking water hose. So whatever you use, as far as hoses, as far as tanks, things like that, you really do want to try to use something that is designed for drinking water. So, there's a lot of different things like that. When you start getting into prep for your RV later on. I mean, right now you're kind of in a tough spot. Bubble foil insulation. Again, I sourced rolls of this from Amazon, but you can get it in other places. Pipe wrap, the insulation you can get at your home center. A lot of different things there that you can work with that are going to help get you through a situation like this. Now, the last thing I want to talk about here is safety. And, you're heating your RV with fuel burning appliance. You are also using a lot of power, so you want to be as careful as you can. You want to make sure all your safety detectors are working in your RV, especially carbon monoxide and smoke. And while you're at it, make sure your propane detector is good. All right, those are there to protect you. Carbon monoxide is a problem. Do not use your cooking appliances for heating. Okay. And that has run into a problem. We've seen that here with the events in Texas. So make sure you're using your appliances appropriately, and just be safe out there. That is, as big a piece of this as you can get. And we will do some features in the future about actually, making your RV better to use in 4 seasons. So with that, Jim, we got any other questions or anything you want to?
Nothing else, Chris, but there's some great tips there. Thank you so much. I can see where the ability to transfer water from a non-pressurized source would be useful while boondocking. And
Sure.
that's also another great use there. And folks, thank you for watching The Dump Station. Check back for another issue coming up soon.